Singapore does not describe itself as afraid. It describes itself as disciplined. The island nation presents order as a natural state. Clean streets. Quiet nights. Predictable outcomes. But order here is engineered. It is built through policy, law, and enforcement. And when those systems reach their final limit, they end here. Before a rope is ever prepared, a switch is ever checked, or a lever is ever pulled, there is a long chain of decisions. Those decisions do not happen in panic. They happen in offices, courtrooms, and cabinet meetings. Singapore's criminal justice philosophy is simple and publicly stated. Certain crimes are not treated as social failures. They are treated as existential threats. Drug trafficking is framed not as vice, but as invasion. Violence is framed not as circumstance, but as choice. Mercy is not removed by accident. It is removed by design. In the 1970s and 1980s, the government watched neighboring regions struggle with narcotics, gangs, and corruption. Singapore chose a different path. It would not react after damage occurred. It would preempt it. Mandatory sentencing laws followed. Judicial discretion narrowed. Appeals were limited. Certainty became policy. The message to the public was consistent. Harsh laws would prevent harsher futures. Fear would protect stability. This approach required infrastructure. Not symbolic buildings. Functional ones. Courts could sentence. Police could arrest. But punishment required a place that could complete the process without hesitation. Changi Prison was not designed as a monument. It was designed as a mechanism. The original prison complex already existed, but its role expanded. Security levels increased. Specialized wings were added. Execution facilities were separated from general population zones. This was not announced with ceremony. Expansion happened quietly. Budgets passed without public debate. Construction progressed behind walls. Singapore does not dramatize punishment. Executions are not spectacles. They are administrative outcomes. That tone shapes the prison itself. No grand architecture. No symbolic flourishes. Only reinforced concrete, layered security, and controlled access. Public fear does not appear on the streets here. It appears in legislation. When drug seizures rise, penalties do not soften. They harden. When international criticism mounts, official statements remain unchanged. The law is the law. The process is the process. This place exists to absorb the final consequences of that philosophy. Inside these walls, the state does not argue. It enforces. The condemned are not here because of public outrage. They are here because statutes demand it. Every execution that occurs here has already passed through years of legal filtration. Investigation. Trial. Appeal. Review. By the time a prisoner arrives in the execution wing, the decision is no longer emotional. It is procedural. That is the function of this institution. Changi does not exist to intimidate through visibility. It exists to operate out of sight. The public does not see movement schedules. It does not see preparation rooms. It does not see final checks. That invisibility is intentional. The state's authority is strongest when it does not need to perform. This prison is not built to scare the population. It is built to reassure it. Reassure investors. Reassure families. Reassure the state itself. Order is preserved because consequences are certain. This is why this place exists. Not as a response to chaos, but as insurance against it. Before the lever is ever touched, this institution has already done its work. Control does not begin with guards. It begins with architecture. Before a single command is spoken, the building has already decided what is possible. Where bodies can move. Where they must stop. how long they wait. Changi Prison is not designed for negotiation. It is designed for compliance. Every structure inside the complex serves one purpose: to reduce uncertainty. Walls are layered, not singular. Perimeters are duplicated. Access points are narrowed until movement becomes a privilege, not a right. The prison is divided into zones. Each zone is isolated from the next. Movement between them requires authorization, timing, and mechanical consent. There are no open paths. Only corridors. Corridors are intentionally narrow. They limit peripheral vision. They prevent grouping. They amplify sound. Footsteps echo longer than voices. Cells are identical by design. Uniform dimensions. Fixed furniture. No corners without sight lines. Nothing inside a cell can be moved to create leverage. Beds are anchored. Toilets are steel. Shelves are molded into the wall. Privacy does not exist as an architectural feature. It exists only as a temporary allowance. Doors are the most important objects in the prison. Not walls. Each door represents a decision already made. Mechanical locks remove human hesitation. When a door closes here, it does so in sequence. Bolt. Secondary bolt. Confirmation signal. The sound is intentional. It informs the inmate that the system has registered the action. Surveillance fills the gaps architecture cannot cover. Cameras line corridors, ceilings, and corners. They are positioned not to intimidate, but to eliminate blind spots. There are no dramatic camera domes. No flashing indicators. Just constant observation. Control rooms sit at the center of the complex. Operators monitor dozens of feeds at once. Movement appears as data before it appears in person. An inmate walking is a signal. A door opening is a timestamp. A delay is logged. This is not vigilance. It is record keeping. Lighting is part of the system. Fluorescent lights flatten shadows. They erase time cues. Day and night become administrative states, not biological ones. In some areas, lights never fully turn off. Sleep is allowed, but darkness is not. Airflow is controlled. Sound is absorbed or amplified depending on location. Temperature remains constant. Comfort is not considered. Predictability is. Exercise yards are enclosed. High walls. Overhead fencing. Even outside, the sky is segmented. Movement into the yard happens on schedule. Exit happens without warning. Isolation wings are physically separated from general population zones. Distance reduces contamination, physical and psychological. Execution-related areas are further removed. Access routes are indirect. Signage is minimal. Nothing inside the architecture acknowledges purpose. There are no symbols. No labels. Rooms exist only as functions. Medical rooms mirror the rest of the prison. Clean. Sparse. Controlled. Restraint fixtures are built into walls, not added later. They are part of the structure. There is no improvisation here. Guard stations are elevated or enclosed behind glass. They are visible but unreachable. This creates asymmetry. The inmate is always seen. The guard is rarely approached. Control does not require proximity. Emergency systems are silent unless activated. Alarms are directional. Responses are automated. Even crisis is managed through architecture. Changi's design assumes resistance before it happens. Every corner anticipates friction. Every surface removes opportunity. The building itself enforces obedience long before discipline is required. By the time a guard speaks, the environment has already answered. This place does not receive people by accident. Everyone here has already been categorized. Before arrival, files are built. Charges are converted into risk. Risk becomes placement. Changi does not house a single type of inmate. It houses classifications. Security level comes first. Sentence length comes second. Behavioral assessment follows. Names are irrelevant to the system. Files matter more than faces. Some inmates arrive directly from court. Others are transferred from lower security facilities. Movement upward is always punitive. Movement downward is rare. Those sent here are defined by separation. Separation from society. Separation from other inmates. Separation from unpredictability. High-risk offenders are prioritized. Not because of who they are, but because of what they might disrupt. Violence history is flagged. Gang affiliation is documented. Non-compliance is logged. Drug offenders sentenced to death are processed differently. They are isolated early. Not as punishment, but as protocol. Their routines diverge quietly from the rest of the prison. Different movement windows. Different escorts. Different cells. Classification interviews are clinical. Psychologists do not ask for remorse. They assess stability. Mental health here is not treated for comfort. It is managed for control. Signs of instability are recorded. Outbursts are predicted. Silence is not mistaken for calm. Uniforms strip identity immediately. Personal clothing is removed. Hair is cut. Belongings are catalogued and sealed. The goal is not humiliation. It is standardization. When everyone looks the same, monitoring becomes easier. Physical markings remain. Tattoos. Scars. Injuries from past lives. They are not covered. They are noted. The body becomes evidence of history. A silent record of prior risk. Inmates here are not encouraged to interact. Association is controlled. Proximity is calculated. Some will never share a cell. Others will never share a yard. Solitary confinement is not exceptional. It is a management tool. For those awaiting execution, isolation is structural. They are removed from informal inmate economies. Removed from rumor circulation. Removed from influence. The psychology of waiting is not addressed openly. There is no counseling for anticipation of death. Only observation. Medical checks increase as execution dates approach. Not to improve health, but to ensure fitness for procedure. The system requires the body to be intact. Restraints are introduced gradually. Hands cuffed during movement. Waist chains added. Leg restraints when necessary. Escorts are deliberate and silent. No conversation. No explanation. Inmates learn the rules without being told. Resistance produces delay. Compliance produces nothing. There are no incentives beyond stability. This population is not here for rehabilitation. That phase has passed. They are here because the law has reached its final stage. Psychological deterioration is expected. It is not interpreted as failure of the system. It is recorded as an outcome. Sleep patterns fragment. Speech slows or accelerates. Eye contact disappears. These changes do not alter classification. They confirm it. Changi does not ask who deserves to be here. It enforces who has been sent. By the time an inmate is visible within these walls, the decision has already traveled through layers of authority. What remains is containment. This chapter of the system does not argue with morality. It processes bodies. Life inside Changi is not measured in events. It is measured in repetition. Every day begins the same way. Not with sound, but with light. Fluorescent tubes hum to full brightness. There is no gradual morning. Time here is announced by systems, not clocks. Inmates wake because the environment tells them to. Movement begins only when permitted. Stillness is the default state. Doors open in sequence. Never all at once. Each release is calculated to prevent contact. Count procedures follow immediately. Bodies are verified. Numbers are matched. Discrepancies are resolved without discussion. Breakfast arrives through slots. Trays slide in. Hands withdraw. Metal meets metal. There is no conversation. No eye contact. Meals are nutrition, not relief. Taste is irrelevant. Efficiency is essential. After meals, cells close again. Locking sounds repeat down the corridor. One door closing triggers the next. Noise travels far here. A single cough echoes. Footsteps announce authority. Movement outside the cell happens only when required. Medical checks. Showers. Exercise. Each movement is escorted. Hands restrained. Spacing enforced. Inmates walk in single file. Heads down. Eyes forward. The yard is not freedom. It is exposure. Concrete replaces walls. Fencing replaces ceilings. The sky appears in fragments. Exercise is limited. Time is monitored. Exit is abrupt. When the yard ends, it ends immediately. No warnings. No extensions. Back inside, silence returns. Lights remain on. Sometimes dimmed. Never gone. Sleep comes in pieces. Interrupted by checks. Interrupted by sound. Mental fatigue accumulates quietly. There are no breakdowns visible to outsiders. Only withdrawal. Discipline is administrative. There are no public punishments. No displays. Infractions are logged. Privileges are reduced. Movement is delayed. Punishment cells are indistinguishable from standard cells at first glance. The difference is duration. And isolation. Some inmates pace. Some sit motionless. Some speak to walls. Guards do not intervene unless required. Observation replaces engagement. Authority is expressed through distance. Medical emergencies are treated quickly and without comment. Stretchers move down corridors. Doors open. Doors close. Afterward, the routine resumes. There is no acknowledgement of crisis. Only continuity. For inmates awaiting execution, the routine narrows further. Movement windows shrink. Contact disappears. Meals are taken alone. Showers are solitary. Exercise, if allowed, is isolated. Guards assigned to these inmates rotate frequently. Familiarity is avoided. There are no conversations about the future. There is no counseling for anticipation. The system does not prepare the mind. It prepares the schedule. As days pass, sensory input reduces. Color drains from perception. Sound becomes mechanical. The body adapts. The mind resists. Some inmates lose track of time entirely. Others mark days obsessively. Neither changes outcome. Lights continue to cycle. Doors continue to close. Evenings are indistinguishable from mornings. Only fatigue accumulates. Night checks are frequent. Flashlights cut across faces. Breathing is confirmed. Sleep fragments further. There is no rebellion here. Resistance has nowhere to grow. Control is complete because it is ordinary. By design, nothing dramatic happens. Drama would indicate failure. Life inside Changi is not meant to be remembered. It is meant to be endured. The institution does not accelerate suffering. It sustains it. Each day removes a little more context. A little more self. What remains is compliance. This is how the system holds people. Not through violence, but through routine.